Ken, I'm sure over the years you've been in some workplace disputes. Yeah, have you ever had any conflict in the workplace?
No.
Oh well, then never mind. Because I was going to ask you about a little help, a little counselor help between Ty Gibbs and Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, one time I was doing a podcast with a young man, and I screwed up his whole premise about a minute and a half ago. That's a good question. You should have asked me to think about that, ponder that earlier before we started. I'd have to sit for a while. No, I really never did. Not with inferiors, superiors, or, deep lateral guys over to the side. Not horizontals, I guess you would call them. No, I don't think I ever did. All right.
Well, we're going to give you a few minutes to think about that one. We'll go talk about other things first. You all right with that?
Yeah, I feel like I should go find one just to feel like what it's like to experience that. But no, I don't know. I'm looking at the clock here. The day's kind of young. I still got time today, maybe. Yeah.
You can pick a fight with me in the next 15 minutes on this video.
Quite easily.
That's Ken Willis. I'm Chris Vanell. This is Daytona Motor Mouths. We're talking NASCAR again this week, obviously, because it's what we do on these damn things. Ryan Blaney wins.
Yeah.
On a really good day for
nobody's surprised. No.
Oh, yeah, nobody's surprised. It's a really good day for Team Penske. Logano leads a bunch of laps. Ryan Blaney leads a bunch of laps. He wins the race. In his last 10 races, he's ranked outside the top 8 just one time. Yeah. So he's on a real heater here. What do you make of the action we saw at New Hampshire this weekend?
Yeah, the Penske cars led like 270 something out of 301 laps.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's they were, as the boys like to say, they were hauling the mail, picking them up, putting them down. Yeah, I mean that was quite an answer after the Gibbs cars, the 3 Gibbs playoff cars, each won one of the first 3 playoff races. So yeah, it's good to see that we're not going to have a Toyota run of right through the playoffs. That Ford's going to say something, and there's a few Chevys over there in the Hendrick garage that actually showed slight signs of life. It's quite a thing when we're look at 3 playoff Hendrick teams that finished 3rd, 5th, and 7th and say, go, yes, let's have a party. Yeah, way to go, guys. That used to be an off Sunday for them. It would be a quiet ride home, but considering what they did in the first 3 playoff races, that's a step in the right direction. So, and Kyle Larson, they go to Kansas this week, and Kyle Larson dominated there back in the spring, the first Kansas race this year. So maybe that's a sign of something to come. Probably not, but I looked it up, and like I say, I don't waste research. Once I look something up, boy, I'm going to wedge it in somewhere, and I just did. Put my wedge away.
No, there was another Ford that did all right on Sunday. Your guy, and I'll let you say this note, some guy who finished last the last couple of weeks didn't finish last.
Josh Berry not only didn't finish last, he came within 0.9 of a second of finishing first. 0.9 of a second on a mile track in NASCAR seems like it's like a route, because we're used to seeing, door handle to door handle type stuff, or at least nose to tail. It was nose almost to tail. But he led some laps. That's basically, I was including him among the Penske cars that led laps, because the Wood Brothers is basically a Penske outfitted team. The Wood Brothers basically just manage the racing operation. So he's good. He's well respected. He was not jammed into NASCAR equipment at a young age. He's ran the grassroots level. He earned his way up there. I think he's 33 or 34. It's not like he's a 22-year-old. So everybody tends to like him. Ryan Blaney's a big fan because he liked the fact that there was a couple of chances when Barry could have done to him what we're going to talk about Denny Hamlin doing to Ty Gibbs here in a minute. And he didn't. He raced him clean, so he made more friends. He's got friends in in a lot of the right places. And so, no, I would be, he could win a race again this year. He won one already this year, and he could win another one over the next 6 or 7 weeks. But nobody would be entirely shocked, I don't think. But it is something. I mean, it's hard to lose 3 weeks in a row. I mean, finish last 3 weeks in a row. But, boy, circumstances can bite you in the butt sometimes. And before you know it, look at here, it's crazy.
The Blaney quote was something along the lines of, I appreciate him not throwing me the bumper when he could have. So, yes, shout out Josh Berry for that. let's go to another couple of interesting quotes. You got Denny Hamlin, you got Ty Gibbs, and Christopher Bell's kind of in this, yeah. They're all racing for like 11th place at this point, and Ty Gibbs is kind of holding off his two teammates, Denny and Christopher Bell. This is around lap 109, 110. And Denny says on his team radio, does Ty know we're going for a championship? And then adds some, extracurricular sentences on there. And then later says, are they afraid to talk to him? Then he just wrecks him out of the race, gives him a nice bump, spins him into the wall. And Ty Gibbs is, goes behind the wall for a little while. What do you make of that whole situation?
I mean, I'll say this, Denny kind of gave him fair warning. If he was asking ahead of time, does he know we're trying to win a championship for his grandpa's team? And, because him and Bell were directly behind him. There's two ways of looking at it. It is a race, and you're supposed to race, and you're not supposed to give up a position if
Correct.
You can hang on to it, which is what Ty Gibbs was doing. And it was early. I mean, it wasn't like there was 20 laps to go, and Denny had to start picking up as many positions as he could in a hurry. They had two-thirds of the race was left. And so maybe Denny should have been a little more patient, perhaps. But at the same time, I mean, if you're a faster car, and he was presumably a faster car, but it was so hard to pass at some tracks and some tracks with these next gen cars. There are different places along the trail where they get to say you just can't pass, and apparently he was in one of those situations. So Ty should have moved over. He's got a race team to feed too, so to speak. So you don't know if he's got those guys to look after. You don't want his crew thinking, why is he giving up a position, even if it's to a teammate? But yeah, bigger picture, he should have moved over, and eventually he did. Just not when he wanted to, and not in the manner that he wanted to. So, yeah, I am quite certain. I would be shocked if the team leadership didn't, say, hey, let's don't do that anymore. And if you're even thinking about paying back Denny Hamlin, get that thought out of your head, because we got bigger fish to fry here in the next 6 weeks. So. Anyway, it was fun. It was fun to see, fun to watch, fun to see the fallout. I mean, that's part of what keeps the NASCAR world going around is, little stuff like this.
Yeah. Afterward, Ty Gibbs on his team radio says "game on" as Denny passes him on the caution lap. So,
listen,
I don't think game is actually on here. I think Denny's
no. He will never. If they ever resurrect the intimidator level, it will not be hung on Ty Gibbs, I don't believe. He's a youthful fellow and looks it. And no, I don't think he's going to scare anybody. But he's a talent, and he's did so well coming up through the ranks that I remain shocked that he has not won a cup race yet here. And I think it was his third full season. Yeah. I hope it's not his fourth. Good Lord, but time flies. Yeah, so I remember going through his rookie year, or at least it was certainly his second year, and I remember every week I kept saying maybe this is the week. And when he wins one, I was saying when he wins one, he's going to win a bunch, but maybe not. Well,
your theory still could be correct. I mean, look at be in year 6, he finally wins a race, and all of a sudden he rattles off 6 of the next 10.
Well, Chase Briscoe suddenly became a championship contender this year, but he's racing basically on the team that Ty Gibbs has been on since day one. So, sure. I don't know. We'll see. I say we'll see a lot because you know what? We always do see. That's what I say.
Next thing I want to see, do you have a show and tell this week?
I do. Let it be known that this, for the first time, I think in the history of our little podcast here, or the show and tell history, this is the first time I have been seen wearing last week's show and tell.
Yes.
Last week's show and tell. This is 2025, about 26 or 7 years ago, if I went to visit Smokey Eunuch at his garage in Daytona Beach, and then occasionally would see him. I saw him at Darlington when we were covering a race, saw him at Charlotte when we were covering a race, and he was there just hanging out and being Smokey. And he had this big yellow legal pad with him that was full of handwritten pages. And he was in the middle of handwriting his autobiography, which became a three volume set, which it's a must-have, not necessarily for the grammar, and the memories might be fuzzy too, but the pictures alone from his World War II days up through his IndyCar and NASCAR stuff, and the pictures from the garage, the photos alone are worth the price of admission to that book. Anyway, it was called Sex, Lies, and Super Speedways, the best damn garage in town, something like that. But anyway, I was rooting around through stuff looking for a show in town. I realized I've never broken, never out of the box. I know these are your favorites. It is the audio book.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. Yeah.
First of
and
all, great book title, yes?
Yeah. And what's also very unique about the book, the audio book, is down here. I got a picture of the fellow who read the audio book, John DeLorean of the DeLorean fame. Yes, the old engineer, the old automotive engineer out of Detroit, who became a very famous engineer and then made a lot of money and then went to jail and came out of jail and read Smokey's book. And along the way, he also made a car that never took off called the DeLorean. It was sort of, in some ways, the forerunner of the Tesla, or the Cybertruck, basically, because it was a stainless steel car. The doors opened up. It had a mixture of some of the Elon Musk stuff, and it was very futuristic. And it went nowhere. And his fortune went away, and then he went away for a little while, and then came back and lived out his life and narrated this book. So, but one of these days, I was trying to get it out of this box. I can't even do it. I'm afraid oh, it will slide out. All right, there you go. All right. Well,
is it a cassette? What is it? CDs?
CDs.
Okay.
CDs. Not as old. You think I'm old? Think I'd have cassettes? Are you crazy? Wouldn't it be great if they put it out on vinyl? Had like a 15 album vinyl set of, because there's a lot of material in that thing. But anyway, if you can find it on Amazon or whatever, not necessarily the audiobook, but the 3-volume paperback, it's quite a collection to add to your racing library, which I don't think that phrase has been turned a whole lot, but there are some really good racing books out there, and this is one to have.
Last question for you. He was just carrying around a illegal pad, like out races and sitting around at his garage and all that fun stuff, just writing stuff when inspiration.
Yeah, you'd see him, and every now and then I remember at times he'd turn up in the media center, and his wife Margie, I think it was his second wife, I know it wasn't his first, she would have his legal pad, and she'd have an old laptop, old Radio Shack Trash 80 or whatever it was, and she's transcribing it into her laptop or whatever we called them at the time. And he'd just be sitting there. He was almost about pretty much deaf as a doornail, so he'd just be sitting there in his own thoughts. But occasionally she would have to ask him, what is this? What did you write here? What does this mean? What is this word? And he would tell her, and being deaf and having a booming voice to begin with, you could hear him all from all the way across the media center. And sometimes it was quite colorful. It was a good time. But if you went into his garage, went to his office at the garage, where really nothing was going on at that time after he closed the garage, and he still piddled around, he would sit there and with his feet up on the desk, and he would have that yellow legal pad, and he'd just be writing memories and thoughts into it, and it was interesting. It was never dull.
Let's hope this Sunday's race is never dull. We're going to Kansas. What are you looking for this weekend?
It is, if this era of NASCAR was, let's say, the last 25 years was going to be defined by a racetrack, it would probably be a 1.5 mile, fairly banked, intermediate super speedway like Kansas. So this is where the bread is buttered, I guess. And in modern NASCAR, there's probably a few more of these tracks than there are any of the others, so maybe a quarter of the schedule is raced on these things. So anyway, it would, I think that we will find out who are the best teams and cars at the current moment. And then the next week they go to the road course at Charlotte, the Roval, and it will mean absolutely nothing. So, and then soon thereafter they're at Talladega, and it'll mean nothing. And then eventually I think they'll go to Martinsville somewhere on the way home to the championship, and it'll mean nothing. And then they'll get Phoenix, which is a 1 miler, and anything that, it'll be down to 4 guys, and you just hope that the best team and the best driver wins, but that doesn't always happen. But that's the system we have.
Sure. Do you want to just record that post-Roval podcast now so we can just talk about SVG now and kind of go on with it? Or
I don't know. Speaking of him, he was running his best oval track race probably of the year, and therefore his career, basically, last week at New Hampshire. He kept hanging around the 10th spot, and then he got part of that wreck that Brad Keselowski triggered when he tried to take a 4-groove track and make it 5 grooves wide. And his entry onto the interstate, he didn't merge too well. So he tried to extend that merging lane a little too far. But anyway, SVG got caught up in that. And by the way, we mentioned Josh Berry earlier before we go. He could have finished last again because Daniel Suarez finished last, and it was due to being in that wreck. And Josh Berry, I went back and saw the replays. He slid by one of the wrecking cars. He had to have rubbed it. I mean, I said I didn't even see an inch of daylight between those cars. He somehow got by that by a hair. So it could have been him. It would have been, I don't know who would have finished last, him or Suarez, if they'd both been taken out in that wreck. But he could have done it again. That's how close. Instead, he came close to winning. So that tells you a lot more can go wrong than can go right, as I always say. And yeah, he damn near finished last again, but he didn't, and he finished second instead, which is quite a difference.
Oh, absolutely. Anything else we should watch this week, or any last words of counsel for Denny and Ty?
I pretty much almost forgot to bring that up before we left. So surely after we're done with this, I'll think of 3 or 4 things that would have been wonderful to talk about. But, it'll just be me and you.
All right. Until next time, that's Ken Willis. I'm Chris Vanell. This has been Daytona Motor Mouths.